The cold red planet of Vara 9 floated alone at the edge of the galaxy. For thousands of years, no ship had landed there. No animal had walked on its surface. No wind had whispered across its broken stones. The Galactic Alliance believed it was a dead world, silent and harmless, nothing more than a forgotten spot in the endless dark. They marked it on the star maps with one word: silent. But Captain Mira Kale never trusted silence. She stood at the viewing window of her ship's sunshade, staring down at the ancient planet below. Her brown eyes were sharp, full of focus and spark. She was human, brave, stubborn, and curious. Many aliens in the Alliance said humans were too emotional for deep space command, too young to lead important missions. But Mira carried herself with calm strength. She didn't need others to believe in her. She believed enough for all of them. Outside, the stars shimmered like ice. One by one, her small crew joined her at the window. "Captain," said her engineer, Jace Marlowe. He was tall, with kind hazel eyes and tough, scar-marked hands from years fixing ship engines. "Scanning complete. We found an energy reading under the surface. It doesn't match any known technology." Mira's heart thudded. "So the planet isn't dead?" "No," Jace replied softly. "Something down there is still alive. Or waking up." Mira felt a chill. The Alliance had sent Sunshade only because one of their probes had detected a strange repeating signal from the surface. Most council members had ignored it, but Mira had insisted they investigate. She had a strange feeling, not fear, but responsibility. Humans knew better than anyone. Even dead worlds could surprise you. Earth itself had nearly died decades ago. Yet humanity survived because they never gave up. She turned to her crew. There were 6 humans and 1 alien ally. Lieutenant Ryvek, a tall, thin insect-like Threx with shimmering green skin and delicate antennae. "Are we ready for landing?" Mira asked. Ryvek clicked his mandibles anxiously. "Captain, people say this planet was cursed by the old ones. The signal could be a trap." Mira placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "Maybe. But what if it's a call for help? If we don't go, we'll never know." Ryvek stared at her, then slowly nodded. Humanity's bravery always confused him and inspired him. Within minutes, Sunshade dropped through the planet's thin atmosphere. Flames danced across its metal wings. Red dust rose like ancient smoke around its landing legs. When the ramp opened, a dry wind brushed across Mira's face. The air felt empty, yet. "Electric, everyone stay close," she ordered. They stepped forward in careful steps, feet crunching over shattered stone. Old ruins stretched across the horizon, broken pillars carved with symbols no one could read. Some looked like spirals, others looked like warnings. Jace knelt beside a broken statue. "Captain, these carvings, they're older than Alliance history." Mira felt a pull inside her chest, like destiny. "Let's keep moving." They followed the signal deeper into the ruins. The dust grew darker. The wind grew colder. Suddenly, Mira saw something ahead. A round metal door half buried in the ground, glowing faint blue. The energy reading pulsed like a heartbeat. She swallowed. "This is it." Ryvek moved nervously behind her. "Are you sure we should open it?" Mira didn't hesitate. "Yes." With Jace's help, she placed a portable generator beside the door. Sparks flew. Lights flickered. Then, click. The door slid open, revealing a stairwell descending into blackness. A breath of warm air drifted upward, not dead air, but alive with energy. Mira felt goosebumps rise along her arms. "Everyone, lights on! We go in!" They walked downward. Slowly, carefully. The steps were smooth, metallic, unaged by time. The deeper they went, the louder the signal became. In her headset, Mira could hear it clearly now, a rhythmic pulse like a coded message. She didn't know why, but it reminded her of a heartbeat, and somehow, also, a voice. Suddenly, they reached a vast underground chamber. It took their breath away. The ceiling arched high above them like a metal sky, glowing with soft blue lines. In the center of the room floated a perfect silver sphere, smooth, shining, spinning in silence. It pulsed with light every few seconds. Each pulse sent gentle waves across the floor, as if the planet itself was breathing. Mira stepped forward. Something about the sphere felt familiar, though she had never seen anything like it in her life. "What is it?" Jace whispered. Before she could answer, a voice echoed across the chamber. It didn't come from speakers. It came from everywhere, from the walls, from the floor, from inside their minds. "Do not wake what we buried," Rivek yelped in terror. The legends were true. Mira's heart pounded. She looked around wildly, but saw no living creature, no translator, nothing that could speak that voice. "Identify yourself," she shouted into the chamber. There was no reply, only the sound of their breathing. Jace swallowed hard. "Captain, I think that sphere. It's some kind of ancient AI. Maybe it's protecting something even more dangerous." Mira's instincts told her they had already crossed a threshold. They were no longer explorers. They were trespassers. She turned to her crew. "We need to leave now. This place is not empty." But as they backed toward the stairs, the sphere pulsed again, brighter this time, almost angry. The ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. Somewhere deep beneath them came a long, low rumble, like the growl of something huge and waking after 1,000,000 years. "Do not wake what?" "We buried." Mira's voice cracked with urgency. "Everyone, run!" They sprinted up the stairs, boots slamming, lights swinging wildly. Above them, thunder rolled. Dust poured down like sand. As they reached the surface and burst into the daylight, the ground behind them split open. Columns of red smoke and strange blue lightning shot into the sky. The silent planet was waking. Mira stared in horror and wonder as the sky changed color, turning from dull red to burning violet. The planet wasn't silent anymore, and somewhere deep beneath their feet, something was coming back to life. The cold red planet of Vera 9 floated alone at the edge of the galaxy. For thousands of years, no ship had landed there, no animal had walked on its surface, no wind had whispered across its broken stones. The Galactic Alliance believed it was a dead world, silent and harmless, nothing more than a forgotten spot in the endless dark. They marked it on the star maps with one word: silent. Dust swirled around Captain Mira Kale's boots as she stood frozen beside the sunshade. Her heart slammed in her chest while the ground under her trembled like a beating drum. Thunder cracked from the torn opening behind her where the stairway once led underground. Hot red smoke and flashing blue lightning poured up into the sky, like furious spirits being released after ages of sleep. Lieutenant Rivik shivered despite his armored suit. His green, insect-like wings tremored as he stared at the widening crack. "Captain," he whispered, voice tight with terror. "This planet is waking." Mira's jaw tightened. Fear pressed against her ribs, begging her to run, but duty anchored her to the ground. She forced herself to think. "Jace," she snapped, turning toward her engineer, "how deep did that vault go?" Jace wiped sweat and dust from his forehead. "Hundreds of meters, maybe more. We didn't even reach the real bottom." His eyes were wide with guilt. If something was sealed down there, Mira finished for him. Then we just helped release it. She took a breath and lifted her communicator to her lips. "Sunshade, prepare for immediate liftoff. Our position is becoming unstable." From above in the cockpit, pilot Renee Lawson responded. "Copy that, Captain. Engines warming. 30 seconds. The planet rumbled again. Cracks spiderwebbed across the sand. Ancient stone pillars leaned and split like dying trees. The sky, once a dull, lifeless red, now shimmered with unnatural violet clouds twisting like living things. Mira swept her gaze over the ruins. Something terrible was rising. "Everyone, move!" she ordered. They ran for the ramp of the sunshade. The metal hull gleamed with heat as the engines roared to life. As they climbed aboard, a thunderous howl echoed from the planet's heart. Low, long, and full of rage. Once inside, Mira sealed the ramp and bolted toward the command deck. "Renee, lift us now!" The sunshade powered upward, shaking violently, as the ground broke apart. Red dust chased them like a hungry wave. Above, debris flew into the air with frightening speed. Jace gripped a wall handle. "Captain, scanners show massive energy spikes spreading across the planet." "Whatever we triggered, it's spreading." Mira's chest ached with worry. "Open a channel to Alliance control." Static filled the air. Finally, a cold, familiar voice broke through. Admiral Tareen of the Threx. His face appeared on screen, stern and dismissive as ever. "Captain Kale, explain why your ship is taking off without clearance." Mira didn't bother with formalities. "Vara 9 is not silent. Something ancient is waking up. We need to lock down this system and send heavy containment forces." Tareen interrupted with an annoyed hiss. "Human exaggeration. Your kind sees ghosts everywhere you land. Stay until proper crews arrive." Mira slammed her fist on the console. "Admiral, if we stay, we die." Tareen's eyes narrowed. "Stand by." The screen went black. Mira felt frustration burn inside her. She had learned long ago that some species trusted technology more than instinct. Humans were still treated like reckless children. They never understood how deeply humans felt danger, like a sixth sense built from centuries of survival. She steadied her breathing. "Renee, get us into orbit. Jace, keep scanning for movement under the surface. Rivek." She looked to her Threx officer gently. "Prepare a warning message in every major Alliance language. Clear, direct, undeniable." Rivek's mandibles clicked. "Will they listen?" Mira gave a sad smile. "They will have to, once they see." Minutes later, the sunshade reached orbit. From space, Vara 9 no longer looked silent. Electric storm clouds swirled like angry eyes. Cracks glowed with blue light across its surface, as if the planet itself was splitting open. A chill swept through the crew as they watched. "What is this?" Renee breathed. Jace zoomed the view. "Captain, look. Objects emerging from the fault lines." Something sharp and metallic was pushing up from underground, long blade-like towers rising toward the sky, hundreds of them, then thousands. They didn't simply rise. They unfolded, like mechanical petals from a long-buried flower made of metal and ancient power. As they reached the surface, they began to move, shifting position until Mira realized what they were becoming. "A planetary weapon system," she whispered. Jace turned pale. "Captain, it's pointing toward space." Toward them, alarms screamed across the bridge. Renee cursed. "Incoming energy beams!" The first blast shot into space, barely missing the sunshade. It tore across the void like a lightning spear. Mira barked orders. "Evasive maneuvers! Move us behind the moon's shadow!" The ship jolted as Renee threw them into a sharp bank. Another beam sliced the space where they'd been moments before. Mira gripped her chair so hard her knuckles turned white. Outside the window, the once silent world thrashed with violent life. "Jace," Mira said, forcing calm. "Tell me this is just a defense system malfunction." He shook his head grimly. "No, Captain. The power signatures are intelligent. It's aiming." Mira's pulse raced. "Then it's not defending itself. It's hunting." She closed her eyes for one brief heartbeat, allowing the fear to pass. When she opened them again, her voice was steel. "Rivek, send the warning." To every Alliance channel, every frequency. Rivek nodded and began typing with shaking hands. Mira leaned forward, speaking the message herself. To all Alliance forces, this is Captain Mira Kyle of the human vessel Sunshade. Vara 9 has activated a planet-wide weapon of unknown origin. This is not a drill. Evacuate all nearby systems and prepare for hostile engagement. Humanity will not run, but we will not face this alone. She ended transmission. Silence filled. The bridge. Renee turned, sweat on her brow. Captain, what if no one comes? Mira looked out at the violent, glowing planet and felt something deep. Not fear, not courage, but destiny. Then humanity will stand alone, she said softly, like we always have, and we will find a way to win. Outside, another beam, launched into space, brighter, faster, hunting its next target. Inside the sunshade, humanity prepared for the unknown. Far below, the ancient planet breathed and waited. Captain Mira Kale stood at the center of the Sunshade's bridge, her eyes locked on the glowing monster below. Vara 9, the once quiet planet, was alive with dreadful light. Great metallic spires had risen from its crust, forming circle after circle like sharp thorns on a colossal crown. Blue energy pulsed through the structures, feeding the weapon system now targeting the stars. Status? Mira asked, her voice steady, betraying none of the fear in her chest. Jace Marlowe's fingers dashed across the console. Power levels are increasing. Each emission wave is 10 times stronger than the last. He swallowed. Captain, if that thing fires at full strength, it could destroy a fleet. Mira's heart pounded. Humanity had fled from danger before, outgunned but never outwilled. Yet this was different. What had they awakened? Rivek lifted his antennae. No. Response from the Alliance. Some signals bouncing, but no acknowledgements. Renee, still gripping the piloting controls, exhaled sharply. So we're alone out here? Mira looked at each of them. Fear flickered in their eyes, but so did resolve. Then we buy time. Humanity never waits for rescue. We become it. She turned toward Jace. Options? He hesitated. We could send drones down and try to overload one of the spires, create a small feedback loop from inside the structure. It might delay activation. But, Mira pushed. Jace's voice dropped. But whoever goes down there won't have much chance of getting back. Silence fell. Outside, another beam shot past them, sizzling through space with hungry force. Mira clenched her fists. Seconds stretched. Lives might depend on the choice. She made now. She lifted her chin. Prepare 2 drones and a landing team. Rivek stepped forward. You are going back? Captain, that is suicide. Mira gave him a small, sad smile. I woke it. I'll face it. Jace, stubborn and loyal, shook his head. Then I'm coming with you. Mira started to protest, but he raised one hand. Don't argue. I got you into that vault. I won't leave you to fight it alone. Mira met his eyes. Thank you. 30 minutes later, the landing shuttle detached from Sunshade. It dove toward the planet's surface, cutting through violent ash clouds and lightning-lit skies. Inside, Mira and Jace sat strapped in beside 2 sleek black drones built for excavation and sabotage. The shuttle landed near the outskirts of the ruins, where the smallest spires jutted like spear tips from the cracked, glowing ground. The air smelled of hot metal and ozone, buzzing with strange power. Mira stepped off the ramp, blaster ready. Her boots crunched over surfaces that pulsed faintly beneath her. Jace followed, carrying the drones in a metal case strapped to his back. He glanced nervously at Mira. We just need to reach the base of that far spire. Plant the drones. Pray. Mira whispered. Praying never worked for me, but fighting does. They moved carefully through the ruins, ducking behind fallen slabs as random lightning glare threatened to reveal them. Every so often, an enormous beam shot toward space, filling the air with a scream so low it rattled their bones. Finally, they reached the spire. Up close, it stood like a building made of knives, edges sharp, humming with ancient power. Mira motioned for Jace to begin. Opened the case and released the first drone. It scuttled forward on tiny magnetic legs, attaching to the metallic base and drilling into a weak spot. Sparks flew. Jace watched his scanner. "Come on, just a little more." Suddenly, crack. A side panel of the spire slid open, and a long, smooth limb unfolded toward them. Not metal, not alive, something in between. It pulsed with blue veins of energy. "Back!" Mira shouted. They leaped behind a stone block as a whip-like beam of energy lashed down where they had stood. The ground erupted, Jace's face drained of blood. The spire is defending itself. It's aware. Mira lifted her blaster. She glanced at the scanner. 47% until the drone started its feedback loop. Too slow. She stood quickly. "Cover, me." "What are you doing?" But Mira was already sprinting toward the angry spire. She fired at the limb, hitting a joint. Blue sparks burst. The limb jerked and twisted like a wounded serpent. Mira kept firing, each shot bold, unshaking, drawing its attention away from Jace and the drone. "Captain!" Jace screamed. She ignored. Him. Her heart thundered as another whip of energy fired and grazed her shoulder, knocking her to the ground. Pain ripped through her arm, but she gritted her teeth and rolled to her feet. The drone beeped. 88%. Mira raised her gun again. The spire's limb targeted her with terrifying precision. 2%. Jace yelled, scrambling to throw a second drone forward, but the spire struck, shattering its metal legs. Percent. Mira stared down death incarnate. She breathed one word. "Now! 100%! The drone detonated a harmless-looking pulse at the root of the spire, and suddenly the pillar blazed with wild, chaotic light. The limb snapped in half. The entire structure howled, then shut down in rapid flickers. Across the horizon, several other spires staggered, their blue lights dimming. Mira gasped, relief and exhaustion flooding her. Jace raced to her side, grabbing her arm with trembling hands. "You did it," he said, voice cracking with emotion. Behind them, though, the rest of the planet remained fully awake. Hundreds of spires still alive, still glowing with the promise of destruction. Mira stood, cradling her injured arm. Sweat and dust streaked her face, but her eyes shone with fierce, unbreakable fire. "We bought time," she said softly. "Now we need reinforcements." Jace helped her back toward the shuttle as distant booms signaled the planet trying to repair itself. High above, the sunshade waited, tiny against the endless storm, yet burning with human hope. Mira's voice whispered into her helmet. "Humanity does not surrender. We adapt, we endure, and we fight." As they rose back toward orbit, the once silent planet shuddered in rage, preparing for its next deadlier strike. The real war was just beginning. Captain Mira Kale sat in the medical bay of the Sunshade, her shoulder freshly bandaged. Pain throbbed through her body, but her mind remained locked on one thought. The planet was learning. The disabled spire had already begun to glow again as they escaped. Whatever intelligence existed beneath Varanine's surface, it would not stay confused for long. She rose from the bed before the medic could protest and headed back toward the bridge. Every step reminded her of the danger still unfolding below. She wasn't afraid, but she was burning with purpose. When she entered the command deck, her crew turned. Their faces were tired, dusty, scared, but determined. "We're ready for orders," Renee said softly, hands still on the flight controls. Mira nodded once. "Send another message to Alliance High Command. Show them the new footage from the landing team. They need to understand what's coming." Revek's antennae twitched. Captain, if I may speak freely? Always. He looked down shamefully. My own people do not believe you. They think humans misread danger. They say I've been tainted by emotion. Mira's heart tightened. She stepped forward and gently touched Ryvek's arm. Emotion is not weakness. It is warning. You've seen this threat with your own eyes. Truth doesn't care about politics. Ryvek's eyes shimmered. Then I will keep trying. As he turned to transmit the message, Mira strode toward the main screen. The planet filled the glass like a terrible god. Lightning danced around it in angry spirals. Jace, she said. Damage report if it fires at full capacity. He didn't answer at first. His voice was low when he spoke. If it fires into populated space, we could lose entire systems, not just ships, colonies, cities. Mira closed her eyes for a heartbeat, imagining billions of lives at peace, unaware of the storm rising in silence. Renee looked back. Incoming message, Captain. Not from command. From who? Mira frowned. Renee tapped the console. A small hologram flickered to life. A blue-scaled alien with long black eyes and a sharp, regal face. Lady Nyxara, noble of the Doran. Empire, known for her pride and distrust of humans. Captain Kyle, Nyxara purred. I watched your warning. This sounds like another human emergency. Should we panic every time your kind feels afraid? Mira kept her voice calm. Watch our live footage. That is not fear. That is evidence. Nyxara's elegant eyebrows rose slightly. A planetary weapon? A living planetary weapon, Mira corrected. We believe it was built by a civilization predating all recorded history, and now it's active again. And you woke it? Nyxara's voice sharpened. Mira didn't flinch. Yes, which is why I'm offering you a chance to help stop it, before it wipes us all out. Silence. Nyxara studied Mira's eyes as if weighing her soul. Finally, the Doran ruler said quietly, I will dispatch 3 battle cruisers to lend support. On one condition. Mira's jaw clenched. Name it. That you remain in command of this situation. Nyxara's voice softened with grudging respect. No one else seems to understand it as well. Mira gave a slow nod. Agreed. The call ended. Jace exhaled, surprised. Renee whispered, 1 ally. Mira's voice was firm. 1 is enough to start. Over the next hours, more replies trickled in, some skeptical, some rude, but a few offered support. A small fleet began to turn toward Vara 9's system, drawn by the raw truth of Mira's warnings. Meanwhile, the planet was changing. Jace watched sensors nervously. Captain, forming new structures, tall arches between spires, power flow increasing by 40%. I think it's building something even bigger than before. Purpose? Mira asked. He hesitated. Unknown, but my instincts say, a gate. Mira stared at him, horror dawning. To bring something through? Jace nodded. Yes. Something from wherever those builders vanished to. Mira's heart hammered. They weren't just facing a weapon. They might be facing the return of a species that made weapons out of entire worlds. She took a breath, steadying herself on the command rail. Renee, stay ready to move. Ryvek, keep broadcasting. Jace, find me a weakness in that power network. I need a plan before those cruisers arrive. If they get too close, Vara 9 might open fire. She turned toward the center of the bridge, eyes blazing with focused fury. We are going to disable that planet again, even if we have to tear it apart piece by piece. Hours passed under flashing lights and endless coded warnings. The sunshade danced slowly in orbit, avoiding every sudden beam, watching for patterns, studying the impossible architecture below. Mira barely slept. Her crew worked in shifts, but refused to leave her side for long. Together, they pointed every sensor and brain at understanding what Vera 9 was becoming. Finally, in the soft glow of dawnlight from a nearby star, Jace gave a tired shout from his terminal. "Captain, I found it." Mira rushed beside him. On the screen was a tangled map of thousands of energy lines weaving toward one single glowing core buried far deeper than the vault they had entered. "If we overload this exact junction in the power matrix," Jace said, "we could cause a pulse big enough to fry the entire network. It may shut everything down." Mira's eyes narrowed. "Another drone strike?" He shook his head. "Too far underground. We'd never reach it with a landing team before it adapts." "Then how?" A quiet voice came from behind. From inside the spire. Everyone turned. Rivek stood tall, eyes bright. He lifted one slender hand. "Send me down with a link spike. I can insert it straight into the energy artery. My body is small and agile. I owe this galaxy a debt." Mira's heart ached. "It's too dangerous. It might kill you." Rivek met her gaze with deep courage. "Your people taught me something. Sometimes, to save many, one must face death without fear." Tears stung Mira's eyes for the first time since this began. Slowly, she nodded. "Then we fight together," she whispered. Outside the ship, Vara 9's surface pulsed with gathering power, brighter and faster, as if sensing that the humans were close to discovering its true heart. The countdown to destruction had begun, and humanity was running toward it. Inside the sunshade, tension wrapped the crew like a storm. The ship trembled gently in orbit above Vara 9, engines thrumming, alarms whispering every few minutes as another energy spike flared across the planet's surface. Down below, ancient. Mechanical giants continued to grow, building arches, gates, and towers that pulsed with a strange blue life. Captain Mira Kale stood beside Rivek in the equipment bay. The Threx officer, usually elegant and careful, now wore a slim armored suit lined with pulse-resistant plating. His thin body shook slightly, not from fear but from determination. She adjusted his shoulder straps with steady hands. Breathing. "Filters working?" Rivek clicked his mandibles. "Yes, Captain." Jace, standing nearby, checked the power spike device, a needle-like rod glowing with internal energy. "Insert this at the connection point. Hold for 3 seconds. The feedback. Pulse will start immediately. After that..." He stopped, lips pressed tight. "After that..." "Run." Mira finished for him, her voice husky. Rivek gave a small bow of his fragile neck. "I will try to return. If I cannot, remember me as someone who learned bravery from humans." Mira's throat tightened. She pulled him into a brief hug, surprising them both. "You already were brave. You just needed a reason." Their shuttle launched silently, streaking down through the turbulent atmosphere once more. Mira sat tense beside Jace, watching the planet grow larger in the viewing port. The surface now resembled a beating heart. Light burst from cracks in pulsed rhythms, as if counting down to doom. "Everything we do now decides if planets live or die," she whispered. The shuttle landed near a massive spire, one thicker than the rest, their target. Rivek stepped onto the cracked ground, clutching the power spike with both thin hands. The rumble of alien machines vibrated up through his legs. Every instinct in his Threx body screamed to flee, to hide, to survive. But he remembered. Human stories Jace had told him of old Earth. Stories of soldiers who stood against dreadful odds simply because someone had to. That was humanity. Hope sharpened into action. He inhaled slowly and moved toward the towering structure. Above him, the crown of the spire reached into the dusty violet sky like a blade. Over the comms, Mira's calm voice guided him. "Follow the pattern of light. It travels toward the artery junction every 30 seconds. You have 20 seconds to reach it." Rivek sprinted. his long toes gripping rock as jagged energy surged nearby. A metallic limb swung out without warning, but he ducked, rolled, and pressed forward. 10 seconds, Mira counted. He leapt, landing at the base arch where a glowing fissure emitted a strange humming song. His suit buzzed with electromagnetic force that made his arms tingle painfully. Now, Ryvek! He slammed the power spike into the glowing slot. A high scream tore through the air. Not his, but the spire itself, as if it felt pain. Blue. Lightning shot upward in frenzied spikes. "Hold!" Jace shouted. 2 seconds! Ryvek closed his eyes and braced against the violent surge, trying to lift him off the ground. 3. Now run! He tore away and bolted, heart pounding, frantically. Behind him, the glow flared white. A pulse wave exploded outward, smashing into every surrounding structure. The massive spire shook violently, lights flickering wildly in spirals as feedback ripped through its systems. From space, the sunshade and dozens of approaching cruisers watched in awe. An electrical chain reaction jumped from spire to spire. Like lightning rippling across a metal forest, Admiral Nixara's battlecruisers had just arrived on the edge of the system. Her voice crackled through Mira's comms. "What have you done, Captain?" Mira stared down, hands trembling. Changed the rules. Suddenly, 3 spires collapsed inward, sinking into the ground as the pulse cut their power. The sky above, Vara 9 brightened, energy storms thinning as several weapon systems flickered, then went dark. Cheers erupted across the sunshade. Renee's voice broke with joy. "We did it! The planet is shutting down!" But Mira felt no relief. Her sharp warrior's instincts caught something strange. Jace tilted his head. "Sensors are shifting. The energy isn't dying. It's moving deeper underground." Nixara's alarmed tones snapped through the channel. "Captain, my ships detect a massive buildup below the surface, directly under your position." Mira's eyes widened. "Ryvek, get out of there now!" In the dusty wasteland below, Ryvek sprinted back toward the shuttle, but the earth cracked open at his feet. A colossal dome of black metal began to rise, splitting the ground wide. It hummed with power far greater and older than anything they had seen yet. It dwarfed every activated spire, shining with a dangerous, perfect glow. Ryvek stumbled and looked up in terror. Captain, it was never just a weapon. It was guarding something even worse. Before Mira could respond, an enormous shockwave blasted from the dome. Dust and light swallowed Ryvek's form. The comms went dead. On the bridge of the sunshade, Mira slammed her fists down. "No!" Jace grabbed her shoulder. "I'm not picking up his vitals!" Mira's eyes filled with grief and an even deeper fury. "Prepare full orbital strike," she said through clenched teeth. "Target anything that rises, fire all cannons." Nixara's voice returned. "Captain, are you certain? You could destabilize the crust entirely." "That thing is waking worse monsters," Mira said coldly. "We end this now or there won't be any galaxy left to save." Outside, Vara 9's main dome reached full height, glowing bright like the eye of some ancient god. The waiting fleet, human, Doran, and a few brave Threks, charged their weapons. Mira stepped to the window as tears rolled silently down her cheeks for Ryvek. Brave Ryvek, who had chosen to fight like a human. Her voice rang across the fleet like a blade striking iron. Humanity stands. Humanity fights. Fire. And dozens of beams burned downward toward the awakening planet, as the fate of the galaxy balanced on the edge of human rage and hope. The empty black of space flashed with violent light as the combined fleet opened fire. Human rail cannons, Doran plasma burners, and Threx energy spears all screamed through the void in a single, unified strike. Captain Mira Kale stood rigid, at the bridge window of the sunshade, watching every beam lance toward the monstrous dome now rising from Vara 9's broken crust. "Impact in 5 seconds," Renee reported. Breathless, Mira's fingers dug into the metal rail. "Hold formation! Don't let it breathe!" Blinding explosions erupted as the weapons hit the dome. Dust spiraled 1,000 meters high, flames rolling like an angry sea. For a tense moment, there was silence. Jace leaned forward, hand over his mouth. Had they succeeded? Suddenly, blue fire blazed through the smoke. The dome didn't crack. It didn't even burn. Instead, a shimmering shield pulsed across its surface, absorbing each attack like drops of rain. Worse still, it began to glow brighter, feeding on their assaults. Admiral Nixara's sharp voice came through comms. "Our shots are being converted. Captain Kale, we are making it stronger." Mira's stomach dropped. "Cease fire! Cease fire!" But the damage had been done. Energy swirled around the dome faster, hotter, forming a vast halo. Symbols bloomed across its surface, circles within circles, each brighter than the last. Jace stared at his scanner in horror. "Captain, it's not a weapon, it's a gate, and we just powered it up." Mira's blood ran cold. Powered it? For who? Without warning, a deep sound vibrated through every ship. A bass hum so ancient it rattled bones and metal alike. Then, like a flower blossoming, the dome opened. Inside was a spinning vortex of pure darkness, and something enormous was. Moving within, Mira's voice became a whisper. "They're coming through." On the sunshade, alarms shrieked. Renee grabbed her controls. "We need to get distance." Too late. A massive tendril of black energy shot from the vortex, ripping upward into the sky like the arm of a waking titan. It struck a Threx cruiser, spearing through its hull. The ship exploded before it could even scream. Across the fleet, panic spread. Ships veered away, breaking formation. Alien captains shouted in confusion. Another energy limb curled and grabbed a Doran destroyer, crushing it like paper. Mira forced herself to focus over the chaos. "Renee, evasive pattern Delta. Keep us away from those tendrils. Jace, find me a weak point on that gate. Somewhere it must have a control core." Renee's eyes were wild but controlled as she dove the sunshade between bursts of fire. Jace worked furiously, sweat dripping down his face. Scanning. Scanning. Wait. There. Underneath the vortex. Something metallic, heart-sized, very small. Mira's mind raced. "A control node?" Jace nodded. "Yes, but it's buried below the opening. Nothing big can hit it. We'd need—" He stopped, and Mira knew what he was thinking before. "He could finish. A small ship," she said. "Fast. One pilot. Manual detonation." Renee's hands froze on the flight stick. "Captain, you can't be serious." Mira's face was calm, eyes fierce. "Human daring woke this horror. Human daring will stop it." But then a voice crackled through the speaker, weak, static-filled. "Captain Kale, do not take my destiny." Mira's breath caught. "Rivek." On screen, a shaky video appeared. Rivek, cracked armor, burned limbs, blood on his mandibles, stood in the ruins. His suit was half melted, but he was alive, clutching a severed drone engine. "Wired to a bomb core. I survived," he rasped. "I am small. I am fast. Let me go in your place." Mira's heart twisted with pride and sorrow. "Rivek, your suit is barely holding. You'll die before you reach the gate." He straightened his fragile body. "My fear died when I learned your courage. If I fall a warrior." Tears pricked Mira's eyes. Around the bridge, her crew watched breathlessly. She gave a slow, heavy nod. "Coordinates for the control node transmitting to your suit," she said softly. "May your gods walk beside you," Rivek replied in a whisper. "Today, humanity is my god." He raced across cracked ground as storms tore over his head. Behind him, the dome spun faster, the vortex swelling with dark shapes trying to claw their way into the galaxy. The fleet tried to shield his path. Doran cruisers fired quick blasts at the giant tendrils to distract them. Threk ships provided sensor scrambles. The sunshade flew dangerously low, offering Rivek its shadow, tracking his heartbeat as he ran. Inside the bridge, silence reigned as every eye stayed fixed on his signal. 50 meters, Jace murmured. 40, Renee whispered. A tendril slammed beside Rivek. He nearly fell but caught himself and kept moving, limping, clutching the bomb tight. Another curl of darkness whipped over his head, missing by millimeters. 20! Then a blast knocked him sideways. The screen flickered. Rivek! Mira yelled, static. Then his stained face reappeared, eyes blazing. He was crawling now, dragging himself inch by inch. 10! He reached a glowing fissure, the underside of the gate. His free hand slammed the bomb into a pulsing socket. He looked up toward the sky where Mira watched. 4. The galaxy, he whispered. The screen went white. A thunderous explosion ripped through Vara 9's core. The gate shrieked like a dying god. The vortex collapsed inward. Tendrils retracted. Spires shattered, raining metal and dust. On the bridge, Mira's knees buckled. Signal lost, Jace whispered brokenly. Outside, the monstrous dome cracked, crumbled, and then folded in on itself. With a massive final implosion, the planet went silent again. Mira pressed her forehead to the glass, tears sliding silently down. They had won, but at a price she would never forget. Rivek, she whispered, your courage saved us all. Behind her, the crew stood in stunned, grieving awe. In the quiet void, Vara 9 slept once more. But humanity had changed forever. They had proved beyond all doubt that hope could burn brighter than any ancient terror, and war was not over yet. The battlefield of space slowly grew quiet. Vara 9 no longer glowed with deadly light. The stormy violet clouds had faded back into dull red haze. Pieces of shattered spires floated above the surface, drifting like broken bones. The once terrifying gate had vanished into ashes, leaving only a black scar across the planet's face. On the bridge of the sunshade, Captain Mira Kale stood motionless. Around her, the crew worked softly, saving data logs, checking survivors, marking debris. No one spoke loudly. They moved as if afraid to disturb the spirit of Rivek, whose brave sacrifice still hung thick in the air. Mira's eyes were red, but she did not look away from the planet. He should not be forgotten, she whispered. Jace placed a hand on her good shoulder. He won't be, Captain. We'll carry his story with us. A soft chime rang. Renee spoke gently. Incoming transmission from Admiral Nixara. Mira straightened and nodded. Nixara's image appeared, her normally cold, controlled posture softened by grief. Captain Kyle, I have witnessed many wars, but never something like today. Your Threx officer's bravery will be honored by my people as well. Mira nodded slowly. It should be honored by the whole alliance. Nixara hesitated. I have already spoken to several council members. They are shaken. The incident on Vara 9 may force them to recognize humanity's importance. Mira's voice was firm. We don't want recognition. We want readiness. If this planet held one gate, there might be others. Nixara exhaled. I agree. A full investigation has begun. The call ended. Jace walked over to his console. Captain, I've recovered Rivek's last suit recordings. He held out a small data core. Would you like to see it? Mira hesitated only a moment. Play it. The screen lit up with shaky footage. Rivek breathing heavily as he crawled across the burning stone. Energy snapped above him. His voice was weak, filled with pain and pride. My heart beats fast. I am afraid. But the humans taught me something. Being brave does not mean having no fear. It means fighting despite fear. I carry their spirit. If I fall, let them know. I was proud to die like a human. Mira's throat closed. She turned away quickly, so no one would see the tears fall again. Renee wiped her eyes. He was one of us. The crew gathered in silence as Mira placed Ryvek's data core into a small silver sphere, a memorial capsule. With careful hands, she placed it into the launch tube of the sunshade. She whispered, "Goodbye, Ryvek. You gave your life to save ours, and to save worlds that will never know your name." With a soft press of a button, the capsule shot gently into space. It drifted, spinning slowly, catching light from the nearest star. Then small thrusters ignited, pushing it toward a peaceful orbit around Vera 9, where his courage would forever watch over the silent world. Minutes passed. Finally, Mira straightened and scrubbed the tears from her cheeks. Her voice regained that familiar steel. "Enough mourning. Ryvek gave us time. Let's not waste it." Jace nodded, pulling up wide system scans. "Detecting multiple energy echoes across this sector. They're weak, but similar to Vera 9's. Gate signature before activation." Mira leaned in, eyes sharp. "How many?" 7. So far. Renee swore under her breath. 7 more ancient gates? Jace's face was pale. Possibly more, hidden under dead planets or moons, waiting. Mira felt a chill. This wasn't over. It had just begun. Vara 9 was the first gate, but not the last. She turned toward her crew. Their uniforms were dirty, their eyes tired, their hearts heavy with grief. Yet every one of them stood straighter, as her gaze touched theirs. "We survived because we stood together. Thrax, Doran, human. That unity must grow if we are to face what's coming." She looked out the window. "We don't wait for danger to wake up again. We go out and find these gates, and shut them down permanently." Her voice fell to a fierce whisper. "For Ryvek." A beep came from the comms. Admiral Nixara's fleet signaled readiness. Mira nodded. "Renee, set course for the nearest echo site. Contact all willing allies. Mobilize every brave soul who believes in a future worth fighting for." Renee smiled despite her tears. "Aye, Captain." As the sunshade turned away from Vera 9, its engines flared gold against the endless black. Other ships followed. Doran, cruisers gliding like sharks, Threx hunters spinning with sharp grace, and new human craft responding to Mira's call. They were no longer explorers. They were guardians. Mira watched the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, more ancient horrors slept, beneath quiet soil. But this time, humanity would not be underestimated. Their fire was awake, and it would burn bright through the coming darkness. She placed a hand over her heart just once, the way Ryvek did when he saluted her, and spoke softly to the empty bridge. "Hope never dies. It fights." With that, the fleet jumped forward, into deeper space, into wider peril, into the unknown war waiting among forgotten stars, and behind them. Vara 9 whispered no more. The sunshade glided through dark space like a silent spear. Captain Mira Kyle sat in the command chair, eyes fixed on the swirling nebula ahead. It shimmered in shades of green and gold, hiding ancient secrets behind its clouds. Somewhere inside, sensors had detected another faint gate signature, weaker than Vara 9, but undeniably similar. "Entering scan range in 30 seconds, Renee announced softly. Lights danced over Mira's face. Her heart was heavy with memories of Ryvek, but her spirit blazed stronger than ever. Humanity had spilled blood to protect this galaxy. Now they would spill sweat and courage to defend it even harder. Jace tuned the long-range sweeper. "I'm picking up ruins." beneath the nebula. Possibly an old moon ripped apart long ago. The gate echo is coming from the fragments. Mira stood. We're not alone here. What other ships have responded? 3 human gunboats from Earth Fleet, Renee said. 1 Doran cruiser under Nixara, and 2 Threk scout pods, volunteers. Mira nodded, warmed by that last detail. Ryvek's bravery had reached home. Soon, their small strike group formed an arrowhead formation and entered the nebula. Colorful, gas curled across their hulls. Static crackled. Sensors spiked with strange readings. The wreckage of a shattered world floated ahead, jagged rock mixed with burned-out steel. In the largest chunk sat a massive circular structure, half buried. In dust and silence. It matches pre-alliance design, Jace said. Another ancient gate. Renee chewed her lip. Do we shut it down the same way? Mira shook her head. No, we do not wait for it to speak. We strike first. She opened comms to the fleet. This is Captain Kyle. Deploy charges at all. Visible energy veins. Do not engage directly. We will destroy the gate before it wakes. Admiral Nixara's elegant voice came through speaker. Your recklessness at Vera 9 almost doomed us all. Yet, your courage saved us too. I will follow. Your lead once again. The human crews launched small torpedo drones into the debris field. Threk's pods wove patterns, mapping every hidden circuit. Doran cannons locked onto exposed regions of the circular ring. Mira watched the swarm with sharp attention. Slow and steady. We do this right. Suddenly, a flicker, a single faint light pulsed from inside the old gate. Once, then twice. Like a heartbeat stirring back to life. Jace swore under his breath. It's trying to activate. Mira's voice sliced the silence. Fire! Torpedoes screamed. Plasma blasts thundered. The gate shook under the barrage, breaking apart chunk by chunk. Panels exploded outward, superheated metal flying into space. For a glorious moment, it seemed victory came easily, until the broken gate began repairing itself. Pieces moved in reverse, reattaching like clockwork. Lights flashed brighter. Symbols appeared, glowing crimson instead of blue. Jace stared at his screen. Captain, this one is smarter. It's adapting faster than Vara 9. Renee pushed the engines. We need more firepower. But before Mira could order anything else, a message interrupted across all channels. Not speech, not sound, but a psychic tremor that filled every mind. We return. Mira stumbled back as if struck. Nixara gasped. Even the hardened human soldiers cried out, clutching their heads. The gate pulsed again. This time, it pushed out a wave, gentle, invisible. Every ship's power systems flickered. Engines stalled. Lights died. EMP shock. Jace yelled, kicking panels. Restarting reactors! The sunshade drifted helplessly. Around them, other ships spun aimlessly. In the nebula's colorful gas, the ancient gate rose brighter, reshaping itself into a deadly ring ready for activation. Mira gritted her teeth and forced herself to stand. We need manual overrides. Prepare nuclear ordnance. Old-style warheads not affected by EMP. Renee stared. Captain, that's illegal tech in the Alliance. Mira's face was deadly calm. So are galaxy-eating monsters. Load the warhead. They raced to the missile bay. With shaking hands, Jace and Mira unlocked a secure crate labeled Pre-Galactic Human Stockpile. Inside lay a long, cold metal cylinder, marked with faded Earth text, Operation Ragnarok. Within minutes, Mira and Renee carried it through dim corridors as emergency red lights flashed. They reached the manual launch tube. Target coordinates ready, Jace called from the flickering bridge. Opening outer doors, Renee replied. Mira touched the warhead gently. Old Earth sins might save new worlds. Strange, isn't it? Renee managed a sad smile. Humanity fights dirty, but we fight to win. Together they slid the warhead into the tube. On my mark, Mira said. Her hand hovered over the manual trigger. She could almost feel Ryvek's spirit beside her. A new tremor rattled the ship. Outside, the gate had stretched fully open. Stars bent around its edges. The dark beyond whispered with unimaginable danger. Mira whispered to herself. For everyone. She slammed the trigger. The warhead shot from the tube, spinning through debris and gas, streaking straight toward the heart of the ancient gate. Lights chased it, sensors flickered, pulses slammed into its hull, but it did not slow. On the bridge, the crew watched with held breath. Then, a white flash consumed the nebula. The blast swallowed the gate whole. Rock burst apart. Dust turned to flame. Rings of ancient metal shattered into glittering shards, blown across space like burning confetti. When the shock passed, there was only darkness and drifting wreckage. Systems flickered back to life. The sunshade hummed again. Jace's voice shook with relief. Target! Destroyed! Mira exhaled the breath she didn't know she'd held. Across the fleet, cheers. Rose, Human, Doran, Threx, united in triumph. But Mira did not celebrate. Her eyes narrowed on the empty space where the gate once stood, because somewhere, far away, something had spoken to her mind. Something waiting. Her heart thudded. This fight had just awakened the real enemy. Still. She straightened tall, wiped sweat from her brow, and said with fierce softness, Prepare for the final hunt. The nebula drifted quietly, pretending peace. Again. But humanity was not fooled. They would chase the darkness to the ends of the galaxy, even if it cost them everything. Space stretched endlessly around the sunshade, stars sparkling like tiny promises of hope. Captain Mira Kale stood at the front window once more, older, tired, but shining with unbroken fire. Behind her, the bridge was quiet. No alarms, no shouting. Only the soft hum of engines carrying them toward one final destination. The alliance had changed rapidly after the fall of the second gate. Old politicians stopped arguing. Young warriors rose up. Within 1 month, a united fleet of Vaz, over 60 ships, Human, Doran, Threx, and even distant species that had once mocked humanity, now soared beside Mira's vessel. Their mission, end the threat before it could awaken. The last gate signature pulsed from the lonely world of Zerath Prime, a dark ball of ice and metal, hanging over a dying blue star. All probes sent to investigate vanished without a trace. Something was waiting. Arriving in orbit, Renee said in a soft tone. Mira nodded once. Her gaze swept across the larger fleet now forming behind them. Massive dreadnoughts, graceful alien cruisers, and fast human frigates held position like. A sword aimed downward. Jace broke the tense silence. Sensor sweep complete. The gate is underground, 1 kilometer below the surface. The ice shell above it is ancient and cracking. Same design as the others? Mira asked. Yes, Jace whispered, but this one is complete, fully intact. Mira's fingers curled into a fist. So this is the true gate, the core. If we destroy it, everything ends. Renee glanced at her. And if we fail? Mira's answer was calm, but deadly. Then the galaxy falls. The order went out. Landing teams dropped to Zerath Prime, carving through layers of ice using heated drill rockets. Alien engineers and human soldiers worked side by side, setting charges around the gate structure, determined to bring it down before it could awaken. From her command chair aboard the Sunshade, Mira watched the operation unfold on screen. Sweat formed on her brow. Her heart whispered, "Rivek, guide us now." Suddenly, a nightmare pulse echoed under the ice. Everything shook. "All units, evacuate!" Mira roared, but too late. The ice split apart like shattered glass, and a vast metal ring burst upward, unfolding like the petals of a dark flower. Symbols glowed along its edges, not blue, not red, but blinding white. Energy surged. Wind screamed. The surface of Zerath Prime began to collapse inward. "It's activating itself!" Jace yelled. "Bypassing startup!" The gate shot an energy wave that knocked half the fleet backward. Ships spun, losing control. The ground team scrambled as more ice ruptured, tossing them like dolls. From inside the unfolding gate, something stirred, a shape of shadow and light. Massive, formless, yet hungry, a psychic whisper struck every mind at once. "You cannot win. We have returned." Mira's voice broke free of terror. "All ships! Fire everything!" Light filled space. Missiles, lasers, and energy beams crashed into the glowing gate with savage force. Debris splashed into space. The metal ring screamed with soundless rage, but did not collapse. Renee shook in her seat. "Nothing is stopping it," Mira's eyes sharpened. "Activate the Sunshade's entire reactor core. We ram it ourselves." Jace froze. "Captain, that will destroy our ship and all of us." Mira looked at each of them. Would Rivek hesitate? Would Earth's first defenders hesitate? No. If someone must stand at the door of hell, let it be us. Her crew didn't argue. They simply nodded and took their positions. As the Sunshade turned toward the shining demon gate, a miracle occurred. Admiral Nixara's great cruiser slid in beside them. "Captain Kyle," she said, voice filled with fierce respect, "you have fought harder than any of us. Let us share that burden." One by one, other ships joined the charge. Human, Threx, Doran. It was no longer Mira's ship alone heading forward. It was all of them, united as one army of hope. Mira felt tears as she whispered, "Thank you." She rammed the throttle. Dozens of ships powered forward like blazing stars. The gate reacted, sending out deadly tendrils of light, ripping through some of the brave attackers. Ships exploded. Lives were lost. Still, they pressed onward. Mira's heart pounded as the Sunshade slammed through layers of twisted energy. Hull alarms wailed. Flames erupted behind them, but she did not look back. "For humanity," she breathed. They struck the core of the gate. A chain reaction erupted like the birth of a new star. Zerath Prime's frozen shell shattered. The gate split apart, fragments dissolving in a storm of brilliance. A blast wave tore across the surface, swallowing friend and foe alike in white fire. Silence. When the light faded, space returned. The fleet, wounded, fewer, but alive, drifted in the calm aftermath of victory. Zerath Prime was gone, turned to dust. No whisper remained of the ancient enemy. Their last gate was closed forever. On the bridge of the battered Sunshade, Mira Kale opened her eyes. She was bruised, bloody, breathing, alive. Around her, Jace. Renee and surviving crew members slowly rose to their feet with stunned expressions. We did it," Jace whispered. Mira looked out into the glittering dark. Somewhere, Rivek's spirit must be smiling. Somewhere, Earth's fallen must be proud. She spoke into the open channel so all ships could hear her voice. "We stood as one. We broke destiny's chains. Let the stars remember this day. Not as the moment we almost died, but as the moment humanity helped every species live." As applause, cheers, and war cries echoed across the comms, Mira placed a hand against the window, and with a fierce, quiet pride, she said the words now famous across the galaxy. "Humanity, yeah." The war was over. The future was theirs.